Good morning, everybody. It's really wonderful to be here today with another podcast representing our Women in Tech series. And my name is Gayleen Gray. I'm the Assistant Vice President and Chief Technology Officer. And I want to just welcome you all here today. And also, I'm very interested in the conversation today. Just providing a little bit of context, I've had numerous conversations with wonderful and amazing women in tech from McMaster University, from across Canada, our CIOs, and now this small series that we're doing this autumn is related to our directors of IT here within the umbrella of the AVP and CTO office, and that's where we're at today. We have lifted off after doing our original series of Women in Tech with a number of fascinating and very accomplished women related to McMaster University. I kicked off and did a panel at the Canadian Higher Ed IT conference in June, and that is what resulted in the CIO conversations. And in having those conversations, I realized, we really have some fabulous individuals working here at McMaster. And so this is the first step in reintroducing you to some of those individuals in this Women in Tech series. And I'm very grateful, first of all, that I get to lead these conversations, but also that I get a chance to I'm going to use the term expose some of these individuals to all of you in the multi-layers that we all have as we show up at work every day and in the good things that we're doing. So today it is Tracy Dallaire. She is our Director of Information Security here at McMaster University. I would like to point out before I ask Tracy to introduce herself, I'm very pleased because Tracy is the first woman leading information security across the higher ed spectrum here in Canada, doing a wonderful job of that. And that's a first for us here at McMaster, leading the way across all of our colleagues at other institutions across Canada. And I'm very proud of that and very proud of being able to say that about Tracy. And of course, there are a lot of things that we're going to dig into about women in tech, but women in information security is part of this conversation. So looking forward to that. So I'm going to hand it off to you. Please, Tracy, please do introduce yourself to everybody and talk about your role here at McMaster, and then we'll dig into the content of the conversation today.
Great. Well, thank you, Gayleen. Hi, everybody. And thanks for the opportunity today. I'm Tracy Dallaire, as Gayleen said, the Director of Information Security here at McMaster. I'm the inaugural director at McMaster. This role was encompassed within another portfolio. And so I joined just 2 years ago. It seems like a whirlwind. And my role here at McMaster is leading a team of IT security professionals. And we're a very operational security groups. We cover identity and access management, single sign-on to all our systems, all the good incident response and reporting of alerts, and contract reviews and vulnerability management and all the good things that go with security. So many of you have interacted with the team. And in addition to our day-to-day operations, we have a security roadmap now in place, intended to mature the overall security function and all of those areas I talked about over the next number of years.
Thank you, Tracy. That's great. So it is an interesting thing. So we're talking in the context of higher ed, and I think it would be really interesting for people to hear a little bit about your how you became a director here at McMaster University and your involvement in Canadian higher education, because this isn't your first Canadian higher ed institution that you've been part of, but you have a background that was very much outside of higher education as well. So can you share with us some of that journey, just to give people a sense of the way things have moved forward? And as you and I discussed, one of the exciting things about being able to talk with individuals such as yourself is really giving people a window into the various ways people come into the IT realm. And I think with information security, obviously taking up lots of space in all of our lives these days, helping people to understand and identify the various ways people move into information security as well would be really helpful. So please, over to you, Tracy.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I came from doing a master's in public policy, public admin. That's kind of like doing an MBA, but for government, broader public sector. So similar sort of area. And my area of focus was qualitative, quantitative analytics. to have evidence to support decision-making. And typically people who went through that program, a lot of their starting spots in government was doing program evaluation. Program evaluation, where I started in the federal government, typically sat with audit groups. So that was kind of my start in the world of audit. And I was in there at the federal government in aviation regulation, doing program evaluations of whether or not the federal government should continue programs or not, in using data to support that. From there, we really developed the practice around risk management federally. And I'm from Southern Ontario, and I had started out in Ottawa, and I wanted to stay and be here around the Hamilton area where I grew up in family. So I went and had an opportunity to work for the province of Ontario. So that was really a big start of my public sector. And because of audit, audit was hiring at that time what they view as sort of non-traditional auditors, people in risk and consulting. So I made that leap over. I spent 23 years with the province of Ontario, worked in 14 different ministries in various different ways. So we had clusters, so it wasn't always 14 separate, and I was playing roles in risk, audit, compliance. Within that, we spend a lot of time building out forensic auditing. So where there's actors trying to do wrongdoing with citizens' identity and others. So really built out my kind of keen interest in figuring out how people who want to do something bad are trying to do it, and how do we stop them by putting smart controls in technology and others. I had, as I kind of led to the end of my time with the province of Ontario, I did a stint at eHealth Ontario as the Chief Risk Audit Compliance. So working in a product company, eHealth at times really a product development company, product management company. And so both honed my skills in terms of understanding technology and the control environment, and also carrying out those forensic audits, forensic investigations. I had an opportunity to come and work at Mohawk College in Hamilton. So it was the first time I actually lived and worked in the same town in my entire career. So that was a big opportunity, and made that deliberate choice to make that career decision to be closer to home. And also at that time made a deliberate change that I wasn't working in the traditional audit risk compliance. I was working in the technology group, leading cybersecurity, digital strategy, and the academic integrations of innovative technologies. So did that for a number of years, and it's exciting to be a part of Hamilton. I grew up in Hamilton and really connected a lot with some of the major employers, McMaster University, the city itself, MIP, and others in the role that I played. And, made some deliberate choices in my mind that I really wanted to continue in the area of cybersecurity. When I look at all of the areas I've been in the past and all of the emerging technologies, cybersecurity is the one that just really excites me, and had the opportunity to put my hat in the ring to come and join McMaster. And not only for that, McMaster also, there's a lot about McMaster I had understood about McMaster's culture and the way it positions itself within the community. So that was another factor kind of in my career journey and path. And so since then I joined Mac in this position. So very exciting.
Thank you for that. I think it is really fascinating to think about all the different ways you've worked, but in the different areas that you've worked over time. And so words that kept jumping out, which are very, near and dear to our hearts as we function here within this environment: audit, risk, compliance. There's a number of those components, and having that background and working your way through that. Some people would look at that and think, oh my gosh, that just sounds really, boring and technical from a policy perspective. But all of that has played a really great background and provided you with an extremely strong foundation in understanding all of the pieces that we have to put together when we're thinking about information security, how we support an institution like McMaster, which is obviously a well-renowned institution, highly involved in research and of course very well known in the world stage, which makes us sometimes a bit of a target from an information security perspective. And people may or may not know this, but Tracy and I link arms on a very regular basis and go and speak to our audit and risk committee. And so the background that you have in that space has been extremely helpful, not only in how we position and present information to our governing bodies here, but also allowing us to ensure that we are meeting the needs of the institution. It's not about information security specifically, it's about all the other pieces that we're supporting through information security and the technologies there, identity management, et cetera. So thank you for that. It also talks a lot about the different paths that people do find when they come into or the potential for the very different paths people can find themselves coming into. And as we move on in our careers, the build on the knowledge and experience and how that can build you, your competencies, your knowledge, your understanding, but also your interests in directions that you might not have anticipated. Because Tracy, I have to assume when you started out, information security probably wasn't a common topic area when you started back into that public administration area. Is it? Like, that's something that's come over time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It wasn't an area at all that we talked about. My world was really about mitigating risks and using controls. I use the word controls a lot. Those are, things, policies, rules that we put in that have to incent people to do things in a different way, like putting in an extra factor to authenticate. So those are controls. And in government, we really looked at, how do we put smart controls in systems, just like they do in manufacturing, so that people can't make a mistake in the process. Mm-hmm. Even way back when in postal code checks, you would just put whatever letters and numbers, but now it maps it to Canada Post, so you can't put in a made-up postal code. So those are this kind of smart controls, right, that help only the right things to be done within a system.
Right. Thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about, I'm curious about your own thoughts on coming from that area of audit, risk, and moving into technology sphere, even though, as we've already talked about, those other components have helped to support you in the work that you're doing. But I'm just curious about your thoughts about curating your career, because you've talked about a couple of things, not only this position opened up or this opportunity happened, but really starting to think more specifically about how you curate and create your career path. You also talked a bit about values. And so I'm wondering if you can marry those two things and just speak a little bit about what that's meant to you as you've made decisions about your career positions that you wanted to go after. Because, I often talk about that whole piece in terms of understanding your own values and trying to find institutions or organizations or positions that will allow you to live in that value space. It tends to be, for all of us, it allows us to thrive in a very different way. So can you speak a little bit more about all of those components, please?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to growing up where I looked at my father, who was a public servant, federal public servant in Customs and Excise Canada, and he was a leader. So, and it's something that they encouraged us, go to higher ed, maximize your potential. So when I went into Western for my undergrad, I really looked at the path of business administration and didn't even really understand the true path of public administration because it was still in its infancy really at that time. And what I realized really quickly from a values perspective is I wanted to work in a place or do something that had more than just the profit sales targets kind of motivation. And so really kind of led me towards doing public administration. And then as I got into working for the first number of years, it was really going where opportunities presented themselves. I was very young and junior in my career, really looked to mentors and leaders, and really looked to mentors and leaders that I watched and observed, who I felt kind of an affinity or an alignment. I wasn't really clear on why, but at that point early on in my career, but I just felt, I've got something to learn from that person. So really sought out myself informal mentorship. And there's always a willingness for people to mentor. So, and that helped kind of guide me in some of my first steps in my career. And at each point in my career, I reached sort of forks in the road where I saw maybe the organization changing or me changing, or I want to make a life family decision. And at each fork, at first I would just sort of follow where somebody was suggesting I go, but then I started to mentors saying, you really need to think about those times when you hit those forks in the road about where do you want to go, what do you want to do, and how do you want to live your life. And so I started to do that when I made that change from the federal government to the provincial government, because they wanted me to go and continue in Ottawa. I wanted to stay here, made those changes, and then began over time looking at ways I could chart that path. In the Ontario government too, one of the things that was really important is if you wanted to be a senior leader, it was very important that you moved around laterally and that you built depth and breadth of different experiences working in different areas. To move into leadership positions, that was something they expected. And so I had that opportunity to kind of move around and stay at the sort of same level as a manager in audit, and then as a director in audit, and then build that depth and breadth of working in different areas. And then as I went through and had that opportunity to say, okay, what out of my job do I really like the most? And it's that balancing of risk and giving strategic advice to business areas, senior leaders. People hear me say, our job is to give our best advice. And then the risk-based decision is somebody's to make, where they hold accountability in that area. And so security and technology is just sort of that area of excitement. It's like solving problems and solving puzzles all the time. And you're trying to problem solve and prevent something from happening again. And it's a very dynamic area. So I think it's the dynamicness that gets me really excited about it. It's the problem solving. And so I looked at those opportunities. Going to Mohawk gave me that foot into higher ed in general. And it's a whole different environment than working in government. And then looking at within that of all the technology areas, which one gets me super excited? And it's really that security area and being able to say, okay, I want to curate my career, but where do I want to go next? What do I want to do next? And what's become very important to me is the values and culture, because we spend so much time at work every day, and we want to feel really good about the time that we spend at work, away from our families. And McMaster has such a reputation, as do you, Gayleen. And so it was an opportunity to really seek out, and I'd been keeping kind of McMaster in my eye for a while, and just the right opportunity came at the right time, at another crossroads time for me in my career.
Thank you. And thank you for the kind compliment. I appreciate that. Yeah, it is a really interesting, there's a little bit of magic in career development, but there's a lot of personal responsibility, which you've talked about. And it is something that we think about from a leadership perspective, is trying to provide opportunities for people to shine, excel, move forward. And also that piece where we ourselves have to really, because only we know what feeds us, what feeds our soul, what energizes us when we come to work every day, and how we want to interact with people, both in terms of the competency side, but to your point, the culture and the people around us as well. So thank you for that. I think that was a really wonderful way of exploring your approach. You talked a little bit about mentorship, and I just want to touch on that, because we do talk about that quite a lot, what it actually means to be a mentor, but also what it means to seek out mentors. And the comment that you made that I think is really helpful for people to consider is that people really want to share and provide input into or direction to other people. So do you mind just touching a little bit on that? Because obviously it's been something that you've been very attuned to as you've gone through your career, Tracy, talking about mentorship and probably being a mentor now to many other people, and probably also through your career.
Mm-hmm. And where it really started was when I was at Western. To get into a master's program, especially the one that I was going to, you needed an academic mentor who would, you needed two of them who would recommend you. And the woman who was one of them, I remember her telling me that mentorship's so important and you need to seek it out. So that just stuck with me. Okay, so then as I went into working and watching, learning, from people who are on a path that I want to understand what their journey was and their path. What was really important with mentors is being really clear on what is it that I'm seeking. Because you can talk about all sorts of things with a mentor, and as a mentee or a person asking, it's really important to think about what is it that you're seeking from the mentor, and that has evolved for me over time. First, it was just understanding their path and understanding the context of the organizations within which I'm working, so a bit more general. And then over time, it was I'm seeking mentorship of how to deal with really difficult situations, difficult conversations, and really sought out very specific mentorship. I've also had the opportunity to get some professional coaching too, which is kind of a form of mentorship, and sought that out. And in that, it's really, I've learned it's important to be clear on what is you're coming to ask for, and be ready to do the homework that's involved. So, and I'm always very open, and I mentor a number of people who come, and it may be for a short time, it may be for a longer time. I still stay very connected with mentors who I've known for many, many years. And sometimes it's good to also meet with mentors who have a very different perspective than you do. Maybe you're thinking, I don't know if I really align with this person, because understand how their perspective and how they see the world, and how do I then best engage. So I have sought out a few people who I maybe kind of rubbed a little bit with and said, I really need to understand, where you're coming from and how I can best operate in that kind of environment where maybe we don't share values or we don't share. So I think that's good to challenge ourselves to do that too.
I think that shows an immense amount of vulnerability, because it means to be able to say, wow, we don't necessarily jive with each other in terms of our understanding or the way we approach things, but I really am curious about that and wanting to ask those questions. And I think that can be a really wonderful reflection for the individual. I mean, mentorship really, when you provide it, really helps us to continue to inculcate our own thinking about things as well. So I think that's great that you've suggested that idea of moving outside of your own sphere and your own areas to ask questions of and expose yourself to others who maybe think differently or do undertake services or undertake their competencies in a very different way. So thank you for that. I think the other thing that was interesting in what you talked about is that piece around mentorship versus coaching. And we've, I do talk about this quite a bit with other individuals. I'm always really fascinated, but something that tweaked for me when you were talking about coaching as a type of mentorship, I guess my reflection on that, Tracy, and you can tell me what you think, is in a way, I mean, coaching is facilitated self-mentoring, because we know coaches always say, you've got the answers. You're creative, resourceful, and whole. They just facilitate the process of you understanding yourselves, understanding what it is that you're looking for. So that facilitated self-mentorship. So you heard it here first. That's my new thinking on coaching. But what are your thoughts about that as far as that process?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly has been my experience. And I've been through different types of coaching focused on different parts of my career. So there's different skill sets in mentors or coaches. So it's really figuring out what is it that you're trying to tackle, like where, for me, it's where do I feel angst and where am I struggling? And I've luckily had employers who were really open to providing the resources so I could have that coach. What's, I think, different with coaches that you hire from a professional company is you don't have that relationship or the same organizational context. They come because they're coaching from a professional service firm who provides this to many others. And that's great too, because when you're getting mentorship from people in your own organization, there's a risk. You're being vulnerable and you're trusting that person, you're in that kind of area of trust, where with a coach from external, they have no direct stake in your organization and have that ongoing working relationship. But it is, yes, very much of, they're a guide, they're a facilitator. And in very specific, that's important too, is it's not just coaching for anything. It's, you've got to be, what's that area of focus, and different coaches are most helpful in different particular areas.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about gender diversity. You've come out of an area in your past, you've provided us with a great synopsis of how that has supported you as you've landed in this wonderful land of information security. What's the gender diversity shift that's happened for you across those many years, Tracy? I'm curious.
Yeah, when I worked in, when I started in aviation, it was a very paramilitary, male-dominated area where most of the aviation regulator folks were men, came from a military background or pilots, like engineers or aircraft maintenance. So it's not just the gender, but it's also kind of that discipline where you come up through a certain path. And I've come into an organization, I came up a very different path. When I went into audit, and I remember walking in that first time way back when I joined, and I walked into the room, about 218 or so people, and it was, maybe there were 5 women in there. And there was a group of us hired at the same time, and we all came from a very different background of risk consulting, not traditional accounting, compliance auditing background. So it was not only again a gender, it was coming in from, I've come up and I'm entering this profession now, and I've come from a very different path. So it's gaining and building credibility that you have something to add and offer when you don't come up through that same kind of discipline and background. Fast forward 20 years, and before I kind of departed the audit profession, I went to one of the annual Institute of Internal Auditors get-togethers, very different demographic in the room 20 years later. People from all backgrounds, lots of women in the profession now, and very much focused on, I'd say, more of the risk consulting, proactive, get out in front kind of work. And when we were talking about it 20 years before, it wasn't like that. It was very much of, you come up kind of through a certain path. Technology is very much the same. When I was at Mohawk, I went to a cybersecurity event in Toronto, and I was speaking at it with the CISO at eHealth. And we walked in, and I was quite nervous walking in because it was a large group of men in suits. And it's like, oh my goodness, what do I have to offer? And I always kind of have that imposter syndrome kind of feeling of, and it's real. It's just and I go in there and I do my best, but it's still a real feeling when I walk into that room, of a room where people don't look like me, don't come from the same background as me. I've come up a different path, and I need to be credible in that group. And so, there's lots of things I do to try and prepare and position myself in that. And I see that as well when you walk by classrooms. At Mohawk, I'd walk by classrooms. I couldn't yet at McMaster because of COVID, but I would see 90 students in a room in one of the networking engineering programs, and there's 3 female students and the rest are male students. So I was part of the Women in Tech and Trades movement of trying to help create a community for women students who maybe can come together and support each other, and so they don't feel alone, or they can find their people within the program and hopefully keep them in the programs, because a lot of women will come in, but they'll leave the programs. So it's not only getting women into programs, it's trying to retain them in programs and then take on willing to really put themselves out there to try and take on leadership roles.
Yeah, so much there. Clearly, you've moved information security. I think there's a clear understanding, certainly in higher ed, when we look around the room full of information security professionals, it is still predominantly male-driven. There's more women now than there were, and more gender diversity than there was. But that whole piece of needing to prove yourself, coming into a room of people who don't necessarily look like you, may not have come up through the same track as you, and trying to prove your competency and your credibility. I think that is it's an interesting thing, because when I speak to my male colleagues as well, I think everybody actually shares that. You talked about imposter syndrome. That's really about, it's just about insecurities, and we all have them. I think the way we manifest that is quite different. In terms of, depending on our background, potentially our gender, et cetera. But it does take courage to go into a room of people you don't know, we project a lot of assumptions on people about what they know versus what we know. But you've now moved into this information security field, and obviously you have courage because you're not stopping yourself based on this sense of need to prove or what have you. What is it that you say to yourself before I get in, because I am interested in about the whole information security world. I think people are interested in understanding a little bit more about what that means, leading that. But before we get there, what is that for you? What is it that you actually do to support yourself in entering into that realm, or as Brene Brown would say, stepping into the arena to show that you have what it takes to deliver on the necessary outcomes and deliverables from whatever work it is that you do?
Yeah, no, thank you. I do a ton of preparation, and I remind myself, Tracy, you got this. And whether I'm up fronting, talking to folks, or driving the roadmap work at McMaster, or talking with my colleagues at other higher ed institutions, I prepare. And that's been really ingrained in me all the way. I was a CCADET when I was a kid, and we had to prepare a lot in that. And then, and as I went through work and audit, I prepare like crazy. And this comes from good advice from one of my many coaches that I had, a professional coach, that it's knowing that you've done the preparation, so you come in and you've got ground, you're stable on the ground. And I remind myself, you got this. And also, as my daughters tell me, Mom, you do you. So I'm there to do me and be me and all the parts of me that I have, and I have something to contribute. And so that confidence has grown, that I've got this. It's doing the preparation, doing the homework, being ready always before you enter into the virtual meeting or the physical kind of presence. I've also over time learned to really listen, and we talk about it at McMaster of approaching with curiosity. Maybe I didn't realize that that's what I was doing, but really seeking first to understand before seeking to be understood, and really have practiced that. And I've learned that language of curiosity at McMaster. And that's important too, because everybody wants to tell their story and everybody wants to contribute. And so that's where I find the common ground with individuals as well, and then lean into that common ground to build that rapport and build that credibility. And like you said, we all come in with no matter who you are, with a bit of insecurity, imposter, we all do. And we're all, really stripping that away, but it's preparation, and then doing that little bit of self-talk of, you got this. And I don't know everything. So if I don't know it, I don't know it. None of us do. And being really comfortable saying, I really don't know that. Here's what I think. I could be wrong. Or I'll go check in or bring in people, and feeling really comfortable with that. And that's not going to be weaponized, and that's not going to be, used against me in any way, and getting real comfortable with, if you don't know it, you don't know it.
Thank you. And I think that's great that the opportunity to ask questions is really important. We often talk about a lot of what we do is a team sport, but we really talk about that in information security here at McMaster. And I think across Canada, again, with our colleagues at different institutions, we all believe we're better, stronger, more capable if we're working together to deal with the information security challenges that we all face in higher education. It's being faced everywhere, but the whole higher education space, it's quite a fascinating one when it comes to information security. So let's dig into information security a little bit. As I mentioned, you're the first female director and lead for information security at a higher education institution in Canada. And maybe I'm wrong on that, and somebody can correct me, but that's my belief and understanding. There's been a lot of things that have changed just even in the last couple of years where you've been with McMaster. We've got a lot more opportunities for connection and creating a stronger workforce, if I can say it like that, across higher education. We've got a number of things like CANSOC and OnCheck programs that are offered at the provincial and federal level, or I should say at the federal and provincial level, relatively speaking, and providing us with those links to other people. But it is a stressful area to work in, and it is a place in my, being accountable for that here at the institution as well. It's a place where I often think, I just don't know everything, and there is so much at risk for our institution. And so feeling like you need to know everything or you need to understand everything, you've talked a bit about asking questions, but how have you prepared yourself for some of the stress involved in that? Because sometimes the stress is about protecting the institution, and sometimes the stress is about working together to protect the institution. And what that looks like is people bring different perspectives, they have different areas of responsibility that have to become part of that larger texture. So without overcomplicating the question, how do you handle that? Because it is something I know you and I have talked about on many occasions. What do we do to support ourselves and to support our teams who also have to shoulder some of that stress on campus? Anyone who's responsible for information and technology on campus has a level or a piece in this somewhere. In fact, everybody at the institution, as we know, has a piece in this somewhere. So can you talk a little bit about that piece? Because I think that's probably, I'm going to project that that's a deterrent for people in thinking about getting more involved in information security.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was actually something I thought deliberately about as I was making decision-making of information security, like some other roles, is a 24/7, 365 kind of role at times because things can happen at any point. There's a few things. One, I have a super supportive family who just understand when I all of a sudden disappear and I have to get on the computer and we're working on something, around the hours. And I'm really blessed and thankful that I have that support, and that alleviates kind of one part of the stress. The other is you, from a risk perspective, you can never mitigate any risk 100% unless you just stop doing the thing that you're doing. And just knowing that we continue to put controls in place. I use the word defense in depth, layers of controls. Things are still going to happen. So, and in my experience interacting with other security professionals over the years, there's a nervousness of, I've got to get it right. Perfect. You're never going to get it right. Perfect. We need to do is strengthen the posture, strengthen the security, strengthen so that something doesn't become a big major, that you can't catch it early enough that you're dealing with small and medium things and less of the really, really big things that can shut you down and end up in the media and that kind of thing. And since I've been here for 2 years, we've undertaken, because of events that have happened, lots of activities to strengthen. Also knowing that we don't need to do it all in one group. We need to lean on and work with our colleagues and peers throughout the institution. We talk about McMaster's decentralized. I think there's a huge power in that. And we have professionals across the organization in IT who really are passionate about doing those things. It's also about incenting behavior changes. We're trying to get people to do something or not do something, essentially, install something on your computer or not have local admin rights anymore. And what I find to help alleviate the stress too is it's not just me and my voice for our teams, it's the collective voice. And so we do a lot of engagement, very high touch approach. And I think that's so vital and important because it's all of our message. So, those are some of the things that can help alleviate sort of the stress around it, and not feeling like, oh my goodness, if something's going to happen, that's an indication that we failed. Threat actors, they're smart. They spend all their time. They're very motivated entrepreneurs. And you can never mitigate any kind of risks, whether it's in security or others, 100%, and being okay with that. It's also, we talk about I would say, reflecting in public sector, in broader public sector, and in really big complex organizations, celebrating successes when you achieve what I call inches, not miles. And taking a moment to, okay, we've accomplished getting multi-factor authentication out. Yeah, it's just Office 365 right now. Let's celebrate that success, and now let's build on that. And remembering it's as you use the words, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so just and being gentle and kind with myself, and reminding the team to be gentle and kind with themselves, that let's get the inches. It's not and things are going to happen and we're going to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, the resilience piece in this is so critical. Resilience is a word that everybody now has at the tip of their tongue as we've gone through COVID and the pandemic, and just, personal resilience. I think as an institution, as a series of departments and areas, delivering, to your point, the importance of an environment like we have here at McMaster. Everybody's got a role to play. Everybody's got areas that they're responsible for. But then from an information security roadmap and delivery model, being resilient around methodical thought moving forward, that is such a critical component, and it's an important strength. Sometimes it's one you have to learn through experiences, and we have had some very challenging experiences here over the last couple of years, as have many of our peers at every higher education institution. It's just a revolving door of who's the person or the institution or the organization who may be dealing with something really challenging right now. So resilience is really important. Partnerships are really important. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what your experience has been reaching out across the province and the country to other individuals doing work like yourself, and some of the exciting things that has brought to you as part of your career, please.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that's really huge. As we were going through our own incidents, I could feel the support of the community. So they may not know exactly what's going on, but we all support each other. So other higher ed institutions will say, hey, we're there to support you, whatever you need. And others have reached out when they've been in the heat of something to ask for, and sometimes just a sounding board and just to talk through things. We've had the opportunity we do a lot of benchmarking with each other. So, hey, are you bringing this product on board? What are you doing with this technology? And that's great. And we talk about, the pros and cons and the implementation of it, and some of the things to be mindful of if you're bringing in a new SIEM tool or a new vulnerability management tool. We've also talked a lot right now together about how we support our community of staff, student, and faculty who do move around institutions too. And how can we create that sort of common experience and common supports? Research security is a big topic right now, where we're really focusing collectively together as a community. So I found it super helpful too, that we're not on our own. Other institutions are ahead of us on some things, so we can lean into them to learn about what they're doing. We can also alleviate some of our workload by getting, security reviews from other organizations. And ultimately, we're all there to really help and support one another. CANSOC just gives us I have such great confidence because they give us those threat alerts that come regularly, that we respond to and share within our community. And if we're really concerned about something, they're there to pick up the phone and answer. We have a Slack channel together. So you very much feel like you're not on your own. You're there to help each other out, support each other. And myself and the team, we all have like bilateral conversations with a particular institution because they've implemented, or they say they're using SailPoint like we are in IM. Where are they at? What are they doing? So that's been really vital and important to lean into those collaborations and lean into those. And we're doing the same within McMaster and collaborating across areas to advance resources and supports.
And it's challenging. We know the reality in our environment across any organization now is the competition for talent, the ability to find people who are interested in undertaking information security. And we've gone through our own, we've been very fortunate. We've got a great team reporting into you and delivering on this, as well as individuals across campus who are contributing to the overall information security posture of the institution. If we're thinking about the opportunity, we touched a little bit on this earlier. If we don't see gender diversity at par, if I can say it like that, within information security, what do you think are some important things that we would want to share with individuals to expand the diversity of information security personnel? Based on your experiences, what are we looking for? Who are those people who may not yet see themselves in information security? What's the upside? Because I think a lot of times we think about the underbelly of information security, the challenging stuff, up in the middle of the night in the sense of this revolving door of activities and issues and what have you. But if we can help to spark someone's interest or perhaps make somebody think about curating their career a little bit differently, if you want to lean into that, I'd be really interested in what your thoughts are, Tracy.
Yes, in information security, to be successful, we need many different skill sets. We need the people who like to do training and present. And so if that's what you like and enjoy in interacting with stakeholders to build security culture, to build, we need people who are passionate about that. We need people who also can write. We have to write briefings and communicate in many, many different ways. Problem solving, and if you really like solving really, really tough problems, or we need people with those skills. We also need people who really love data, because we need data and evidence to look at trends and where risks are moving. We also want people who really want to look at logs and scans and look for the needle in the haystack. So, my message is there's a wide range of skills, and people can come through many, many different paths. And there's certain things that if you want to get into the profession, you can learn and you can build those skills. There's lots of great certifications and courses and training. And, never count yourself out as a security professional. Deloitte's way back when did a report on the 15 different hats of the security professional and showing the different, you need strategists, you need data folks, you need communicators, and the technical skills. And it's not just one type of background. People who know software development and coding, there's a place in security. There's people that manage networks, and there's a place in security. So there's a place, I think, for many, many different academic backgrounds. And so I very much am interested in encouraging people who even have a curiosity about it to talk to professionals, and don't count yourself out, because there are many different professions. And I talk about that in the CANSOC security group, because we're talking about ongoing training and development that we can provide. And it's not just the technical skills that, yes, very important. And there's all sorts of other skills. As a woman in the profession, and we talk about this in the broader community of women in technologies, people sometimes need to see it to think they could be it. So being a visible presence is important. And getting out there and finding opportunities to talk and just be a voice that's saying, don't ever count yourself out. If you're interested, come chat with us. Everybody's looking for cyber security professionals. And that is the dialogue going on in the broader community, is that organizations need people with different kinds of backgrounds and skill sets, and encouraging that, and then demonstrating it and showcasing, you can come from a different background.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that. So it's sort of that big tent. Well, everyone's welcome. We need to obviously help people find the foundation for them, similar to what you found yourself going through your path, building a foundation and then being conversant in information security in all of its facets, because there is so much there, to your point, with the education as well as the actual impact of trying to be in that defense mode, setting up the appropriate controls, et cetera. So thank you for that. I think that's great. I want to ensure that I don't just focus on the career side of Tracy Dallaire. I also want to talk a little bit about the personal side of Tracy Dallaire. You've talked a little bit about the fact that you have daughters. And I'm curious, because it's always fascinating what people do when they're not, spending all of their hours thinking about information security, audit risk, et cetera. Can you talk a little bit about your, to the degree that you're willing to do so, your family, but also what some of your very interesting, from where I said anyway, very interesting personal pursuits are, Tracy, because I think it'll be nice for people to get that side of you yourself as well. Please.
Yeah, well, thank you. I have a big smile because I always talk about my daughters. I have two daughters. They're in their 20s. They both finished post-secondary education. Yes, got them over that first finish line. They can do more, but my job was to help get them over the finish line. They're both working in their professions. One's living at home, one's not living at home. But she was actually over last night, and we just sat around and talked for hours. So I have a wonderful husband, works at Toyota, builds cars, and he's super, super supportive. He always teases me. He says, "You've got a career and I've got a job," kind of thing. And super, he says, "I don't understand what you do, but I just know it's important and I support you with that." So I'm really, really blessed and fortunate to have my family. My mom and dad are around. I spend a lot of time helping take care of mom and dad. And I have a sister who's an adult with disabilities, who I also help support with the family. So, and with that, I've got lots of great friends that we get out there and we go camping and hiking, and I like going extreme hiking and kayaking. So we're out at the provincial parks all the time, having adventures, and some other parts of Ontario. Ontario's amazing. I got way up north this summer and hadn't been way up north since I was a little girl, and just really love being out with nature and always getting up to mischief. We're always into antics and always game for a good hike and a good, challenge myself to do things. I'm not great at it, but I just try, and I'm out there and I do it. I've built out a hobby for the last about 4.5, 5 years doing stained glass. And I couldn't draw a stick person if my life depended on it, but I love doing stained glass. So I spend every Saturday morning with a group of women, and then I have a studio at home. And my husband does woodworking, and it's called Intarsia, which is like, there's a lot of similarities. So I always con him into adding wood into what I do, sort of thing. He's like, "How do your projects always become my projects too?" So it's fun because we spend time. There's a lot of commonalities. We spend a lot of time out at glass places and at wood places and doing that together. So it's good. And he's really encouraged me to pursue my hobbies and interests, which is good because I've been very mom focused for many years.
Yeah, there is something really wonderful about the success of seeing your children move through higher education and get out the other side. And then to your point, now it's over to you kids, like off you go, be adults and do your thing. But it's wonderful to see them, of course. The other piece I wanted to just focus on is, dealing with glass. I tried stained glass once, and I'm totally useless at this, but I sort of think, wow, talking about a risky, because it too is a bit of a risk involved activity. There's glass, there's hot things that you can burn yourself on, and whatever. So it's kind of interesting that you've got an artistic endeavor that also involves danger. So that's kind of an interesting, maybe a bit of an insight into your personality, perhaps. Then I have to ask, what is extreme hiking? What does that mean exactly? I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's where you're looking for the difficult hikes. So they rate them. So there's this, it's All Trails is a really great app, and they'll rate them as difficult or extremely difficult and others. So some of them, I did one this summer at Killarney Provincial Park. It's called the Crack. It's really hard. You're actually bouldering up rocks and grabbing, like you're almost going vertical at times. So you got to really watch your footing and grab hold of it. And I get excited to take on those challenges. We did another one. We went 5 hours straight up a mountain in Quebec this summer. It was straight up. There was no back and forth. And it's a bit of a mind over matter thing. And I like to challenge myself to do that. It's also, when you're doing that, you can't think about anything else. And that's like doing stained glass. I can't think of anything else because I am going to cut myself or burn myself.
Right.
I tried scuba diving years ago, and it's the same thing. It totally, like, if you start thinking about something else, you're going to hurt yourself. So I think I seek those things out because as I do it, I actually calm down and I settle down because I get in the zone.
Right.
And
well,
so
I'm very focused, right?
Yeah.
So everything else goes away. And when you have, what I know can be a very stressful area of work, being able to find a different way. It seems to me that everything they're doing is a little stressful, even in your fun time. So I don't know about that, but it's a different kind of stress. So maybe that's the break. That it certainly indicates that you have a lot of courage and bravery and love to challenge yourself, which is a really excellent opportunity for any of us, both in our individual but also in our career pursuits. So I think that's really fascinating. And what about in terms of the role modeling that you play with your family or your friends? Obviously the work and the fun that you have is an example of what's possible if you put your mind into something. So do you have conversations like that with your daughters as well about, it's really a lot of what propels us or holds us back is really right up here.
Yeah, no, I've said, I was actually talking to Emma, my eldest, last night specifically about that. She's got a job, she's working. She's like, I need something. I'm like, then do something. She said, but what I don't know. Do I take a trip? Do I go here? Just pick something and do it. And then that doesn't mean it's the only time. Just pick something and do it. And that took me a while. I was like analysis paralysis, or I created an inertia for myself. And same with my women friends. We're all kind of reaching that age where our kids are starting to go off to something else. And a lot of them are like, I don't know what to do. And so there's a couple of groups that we, get together. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go do something. What do we want to do? And every group is a little bit different. Some want to go to New York City, or some want to go hiking, or I'm not going camping, forget it. But it's really trying to encourage and then just go for it and take a step out there, and then you do it, and then you build on that and you build on that. So, and it's something that I would talk a lot about early in my life, but I wouldn't do it. And I've had to learn to really do it and just get out there and, take on those challenges.
Perfect. So just do it.
Just
perfect tagline. Somebody should come up with that. I think that's great marketing. Anyway, well, we're coming to the end of our time, Tracy. Thank you for sharing. It's always putting someone on the spot and asking about people to open up their personal lives is a risk for you, maybe not a risk, but I mean, you're obviously, that I care about you and I'm really interested in who you are as a whole person. I think it's really important that we're able to share that with the people who work with us and for us and around us, and who interact with us on a regular basis. So thank you for sharing that side of yourself as well. I want to thank everybody who joined us today to listen to Tracy Dallaire and her fascinating career journey and some of the things that she's doing here at McMaster University. Tracy, it's been a huge pleasure getting a chance to pull some of that information out of you and to get you to tell your story. It's important to me to know and understand you better, and it's very important to me that others do as well. And I want to say thank you. You've taken on really an inaugural position. We didn't have a director of information security before. You're the first woman leading this in higher education IT here in Canada. So congratulations on that accomplishment. And you're doing a great job. And I just want to tip my hat to you. Every day you show up and you just keep moving forward. You just do it. And I'm really appreciative of that. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.